Me today is Mayor Johnson, Police Chief Norman, Fire Chief Lipsky, Venetia Kendrick from the Office of Violence Prevention, and my colleagues from UNCOM agencies located across the city, including Devin Hudson, the Executive Director of our host, Silver Spring Neighborhood Center. UNCOM's mission is to make Milwaukee's neighborhoods stronger through a united collaboration of member organizations working to achieve the greatest community impact. We stand together with our community partners to help make our great city of Milwaukee safer for everyone. We are motivated to distribute gun locks to all gun owners in the city in a judgment-free way. We simply ask that if you've got it, lock it. Gun locks will be available at the UNCOM home office at 16th and North and through our UNCOM members. City on a Hill, COA Youth and Family Centers, Journey House, Milwaukee Christian Center, New Life Community Development, Neighborhood House of Milwaukee, Northcott Neighborhood House, and here at Silver Spring Neighborhood Center. Check out our website, uncom-milw.org, for more information. That's uncom-milw.org for more information. Thank you. I will now introduce our great Mayor Cavalier Johnson, Cavalier Johnson, excuse me.
Thank you. That's all right. That's all right. Well, thank you so much, Renee. I really appreciate that. And thank you again to all of our partners who have joined us here this morning. I often talk about partnerships, and what you see right now before you is an example of that. I want everyone to know as well that I am continuously and comprehensively working to reduce violence in Milwaukee. We are together. This includes strong law enforcement. I'm happy to be joined by Chief Norman as well as Chief Lipsky, who Renee mentioned as well. But not just law enforcement that also respects and adheres to the Constitution and the constitutional rights of the citizens that folks in our law and protective services engage with in the community of Milwaukee. But reducing violence also includes not just police, but it also includes prevention, as well as education and intervention. And the Office of Violence Prevention that's represented here with us today is playing a leading role in that effort. Violence reduction also includes everyone in Milwaukee working together to add safety to our city. You know, as a father of young kids, I often think about the youngest victims of gun violence, the blameless victims who are unintended targets. And we've seen too much of that already in Milwaukee, including not terribly long ago where a 10-year-old girl was shot and her 13-year-old sister was killed. No child should be afraid in this city, anywhere in this state or in this country, to play in their front yard. No parent should be at the hospital bedside because their young child was a victim to unnecessary gun violence. I want every reasonable step taken to prevent these sort of tragedies from happening here in Milwaukee. And today we're highlighting the importance and the availability as well of gun locks in Milwaukee. Every single gun owner has an obligation, a moral obligation, to make sure that their firearms are secured. Under no circumstance should a gun be within the reach of a child. And if you own a gun, it needs to be locked. Point blank, plain and simple. If you own a gun, it needs to be locked and not available for the hands of little people, of young people, including teenagers. A locked gun is less likely to be stolen and then in turn used by a criminal for a criminal behavior on the streets of our city. So there's no excuse. Guns should be locked when they're not being used responsibly by the owners of those guns. So if you don't have a gun lock now, there's no excuse because they're available and they're widely available, and we're making sure that that's the case. with the partnerships that you see before you now. So today we're highlighting the availability of gun locks at members of the United Neighborhood Centers of Milwaukee, UNCOM. And Renee just talked about that a little bit ago. Gun locks are also available from city agencies, including the Milwaukee Fire Department, as well as the Office of Violence Prevention. Chief Aaron Lipsky and Venetia Kendrick are here representing those agencies. Also want to thank as well, again, Chief Jeffrey Norman from the Milwaukee Police Department for his involvement in this effort too. I want this to be a safer summer in Milwaukee. Gun locks are a start of that. But it's not just that, right? It's all of us, again, working together. There's no time this summer for anybody to sit on the sidelines. So if you're a parent, if you're a father or a father figure, if you're a mother or a mother figure, if you are an activist out in the community, if you are a teacher, if you're a preacher, if you're a police officer, we need everybody in the game. We need everybody to stand up. We need everybody to do their part to make sure that this is a safer summer, because lives literally depend on it. When you think about what's happened this year already, again, 3 law enforcement officers who have been shot, unacceptable. You think about the children who've been shot and those who've been killed in this community, unacceptable. So we need everybody to step up and to be a part of the solution. Everybody has a role to play. Nobody has time to be on the sidelines. All right, with that, I'll turn it back over to Renee.
Thank you. I'd like to now introduce Police Chief Norman to say a few words.
Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of the Milwaukee Police Department, we're proud to be a partner in this fight to impact firearm violence in our community. Appreciative to be with our partners, UNCON, also with Mayor Johnson, my other partner there, Chief Lipsky, and also with the Office of Violence Prevention, because we understand that the Milwaukee Police Department cannot take on this challenge alone. We know that there's many aspects of impacting firearm violence within our community. And I've said this many times. The platform I use is in regards to making sure that we put focus on those who are harmed significantly by those weapons that are not being locked up in their homes or within the respective places that keep guns safe, our children. We need to understand that our children needs us in regards to ensuring that we have preventative measures to understand that we understand their safety is in our hands. These gun locks provide that. So Milwaukee Police Department is proud to be part of these preventative measures. I said this time and time again, I do not want us to be always on behind the impact of this situation by investigating these particular crimes. It's important to be in front of this. We see the challenges. We're coming into a summer, as the mayor just said, we want to see a safer summer. We understand that these are things that are impacting our community. This is a tool amongst many tools that are provided for our community to provide a safer Milwaukee. It's important, again, that you take one of these locks, you use it. It's not meant to be put into a drawer or put into the side. We understand that firearm negligence contributes to harm in our community. This is a preventative measure to ensure that we are keeping our community safe by any means necessary. So again, I'm glad to be part of this partnership. As the mayor said, we cannot do this alone. The Milwaukee Police Department have always said, we need your community. If you are in this community, you work in this community, you play in this community, we need that partnership from all aspects of our community. So appreciate that, and I would like to turn it back to our moderator.
Thank you, Chief Norman. I'd like to now introduce Fire Chief Lipsky.
Good morning. Can't thank you enough for your interest in this. This is a story about maybe pessimism, maybe optimism, maybe pain and suffering, maybe hope. But in the middle of all that, it is definitely a story of all hands on deck collaboration to begin to chip away at this. Nobody up here is under the illusion that there is a catch-all solution that is going to turn this tide overnight. But I can tell you this much, it is not sustainable. It is not sustainable to continue down the path that we are on when the answers Some of them are this simple. We have a lot of outstanding partners up here with the Office of Violence Prevention, 414 for Life. We have people who are doing things to actively intersect and interrupt that exact moment where that circuit breaker trips and a person goes from angry to committing a fatal, deadly act against another human being. There is a specific moment in time that that happens. The mayor has convened an all-hands-on-deck approach to this so that we can start to stretch that moment of time out a bit, interrupt, slow down that explosion that is happening in someone's emotion and brain where they trip over to, it's time to start shooting. This lock right here is available in every fire station. It's available on every fire truck and every paramedic unit for free, no questions asked. Our partners in the Office of Violence Prevention, the police department, I'm certain the health department's involved as well. We'll get one for you. We'll get you one. This is going to prevent the absolutely horrific accidental shootings, many of them child on child, that have occurred in relatively recent history in this city. But consider this for 1 second. Emotions are rising, people are arguing, and somebody needs or feels that they're going towards that space where fatal violence is appearing to be an option. If we can add one more step to give a person just a few seconds to think about what they're doing, we are adding another few seconds of consideration that fatal violence may not be the answer. It certainly isn't the answer for the person that is shot. And I'll tell you this much, it is ending lives and destroying families just the same on the part of the shooters. Those families are destroyed just the same. We haven't even had a real hot weekend yet. We have just had less worse weekends. It's Wisconsin. So am I 100% that we have all the answers? I'm not going to stand in front of you and preach that. But I am telling you, we need everybody's help because this is not sustainable. Can't express my appreciation for the interest in this, and I'm so proud to be in partnership with all these folks. Please help us help everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Lipsky. Our final guest today, guest speaker today, is from the City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Venetia Kendrick.
Good morning. I am Venetia Kendrick, Community Outreach Specialist, Adolescent Suicide with the City of Milwaukee Health Department and Office of Violence Prevention. How important are gun locks? Whether a firearm is kept in the home, in a vehicle, etc. Proper firearm storage is essential to the safety and livelihood of our communities and our city. When a firearm is properly stored and locked, a child does not have access to a firearm, assuming it is a toy gun. When a firearm is properly stored and locked, a suicide has the potential of being avoided. When a firearm is properly stored and locked, it minimizes access to a weapon that has the ability to change and adjust lives forever. A gun lock that is safely secured and stored means that a life can be saved. The Office of Violence Prevention locks arms with MPD, MFD, UNCOM, and, and other organizations in promoting the message focusing on safety measures around firearm storage and gun violence prevention. Gun locks are available at the locations mentioned by our local partners. Also, each MHD Health Center, Keenan Health Center, Northwest Health Center, and Southside Health Centers, and the Office of Violence Prevention continues to have gun locks available upon request. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for attending today. And with that, we'll take a question or two. Yeah, you know, one of the most effective things that we can do, this is outside of government, is look back into our homes. Look back to those family members. I mentioned it when I spoke about mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and grandparents and mentors and friends and folks who have some insight, some inroads into people who might commit some sort of violent act in our community, right? We can't be everywhere. I cannot be, the chief cannot be, his officers cannot be, the fire department cannot be, the Office of Violence Prevention cannot be in every home at every time. And so we need folks in our neighborhoods who have relationships with folks that might commit violent acts to encourage them not to do that, right? To encourage them to put guns down, to encourage them to use things like this, gun locks, so that, you know, the firearms that they have, they take a second thought at before they use them, or so that they're not accessible to kids who are in the house who may use them, or who may end up using them, unfortunately, on themselves sometimes, like we've seen in the city in the past. So it's very complex. It's all the partners that we have here today, but it's also reaching out and engaging with folks where they are in their homes. That, I think, is the most effective tool that we have, is the ability for folks who have those direct contacts, the direct communication with people who may commit violent acts, to reach out to them and encourage them to take a different way. Well, I think it's what I just mentioned, right? There are so many people, so many good people in Milwaukee who don't want violence erupting in their neighborhoods. There are so many people of good conscience that want to see peaceful neighborhoods, and they want their kids, their grandkids, their nieces and their nephews to be able to play outside, to be able to ride their bike without violence, you know, happening. And so if they've got inroads to folks that may commit violent acts, I'm asking those folks to stand up and encourage those individuals in their lives to go get a gun lock, to make sure that those firearms are secured, so that, again, they think twice. You got to take this off before you use it. You think twice about it. And if the gun is in a vehicle or at home, then it makes it, again, less likely that it would be stolen and then used by somebody in a criminal, violent behavior. You know, and perhaps the chief can talk about this, Chief Norman rather, could talk about this a little bit as well, but in this city, a significant number of the shootings that we have happen because people who are in close contact with each other get into arguments. They have a disagreement, and instead of using their words, or, you know, if things escalate, perhaps even having a fist fight, they decide to use guns. You know, and this is against, you know, folks that they know, that they have some relationship with. So encouraging them to use one of these makes them think twice about it, at least, before they go off and pull a trigger. That has deadly consequences, that not only disrupts and shatters, kills the person that they're into a confrontation with, but you also got to think about that person's family, right? When you kill somebody, when you hurt them this way, it's not just them you're hurting their mom, you're hurting their kids, you're hurting their friends and family. And not just that, but you're also, you know, hurting yourself. Because, you know, law enforcement will continue to work to make sure that there's justice brought forward. When you look at your own news stories, when you hear people in our neighborhoods who have been hurt due to violence, what do they say? You know, they want people to stand up. They want people to say something. They want those individuals to be brought to justice. That's what people want in this community, and that's what we're encouraging too. I'll let one of our partners to talk about that a little bit more, about whether or not it's an indefinite gun supply, or a gun lock supply rather. But I'll say this before allowing that to happen, is that right now they are available. Right now at all of those locations that were mentioned, the Uncom sites as well as the fire department sites, these are available, and we're encouraging folks who have guns who want to make sure that we have a safer summer, folks who want to have all hands on deck, to go out and get one to make sure your firearms are secure. They are available and in great quantity right now, at this moment. Anybody can answer that question about the supply of gun locks? The supply of gun locks, how many of it is it will be ongoing?
Yeah. We are working with, UNCOM is working with our partners at MPD and with the Office of Violence Prevention, and having access to gun locks will not be a barrier for us. We're going to get as many gun locks out into the community as possible, and we're all motivated to do so.